Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Psychology Club podcast, where this week we have Derrick Kirk from the Contra Costa Office of Education. Let's give him a nice warm welcome. All right, so let's go around to get names. I am Nick.
I'm Alex.
I'm James.
I'm Susanna.
I'm Chris.
I'm Amanda.
All righty. So
I'm Derrick.
All right, let's get started with the first question. So what do you do and why do you care so much about it?
So my position is called Youth Development Specialist, and my main job is to train students to teach other students in the county. And we work with 9 districts coming from West Contra Costa all the way over to Far East, like Brentwood, Byron. And I train each district middle school students and high school students to talk about vaping, tobacco, flavors, social justice, all that. And then also I co-facilitate the Youth Health Coalition in the county called Courage. Stands for CR, Advocacy, Generation, and Education. And as of recently, I've been doing a lot of parent presentations. Vaping is stinky. Highlight that word stinky, by the way. But no, that's the majority of my role.
Make sure you put it like somewhere up.
Yeah, put it up there
right
somewhere.
there.
All right.
Stinky, right there.
Right there.
All right.
Derrick, our generation was on track to be the first tobacco-free generation. What happened?
Technology.
Bored.
So, yes, when they discovered in the I gotta say 19s because none of y'all was born in. In the 19s, they actually found out, like the 60s or so, they started finding out that tobacco was killing people. And after they found it out, rates started coming down because they targeted tobacco companies, they sued them, they got a bunch of money, and then that's where a lot of money goes to prevention. And like those videos of PSAs you see on TV saying, hey, you smoke, boom, you blow up. Those are PSAs, and those funds came from tobacco dollars. So America as a whole was coming down to where right now in majority of high schools throughout the country, smoking rates of like traditional tobaccos under 7% or so. Now, in 2006, though, they invented the electronic cigarette, which was marketed as a cessation device to help people quit smoking, kind of like the nicotine patch or nicotine gum. But none of them have been proven to be guaranteed to help people quit, and because of it, it's now rolled into being a novelty. So instead of don't get me wrong, some people do quit, but the majority of people either go on to be dual users or it introduces people into nicotine. And when it comes to young people, if you vape, you're 4 times as likely to go on a traditional tobacco, which is what we're seeing as like the statistics go up. So that's the issue, and vaping kind of reversed a lot of the efforts we've done in the last decade.
Wow.
I told you I can go deep here. Just tell me when to cut it off.
Never. You're good.
So, how did these companies like JUUL get away with making their products sound so innocent and healthy?
It's all about that moolah. Sorry, it's about the money. It's a business. It's a business. So basically the way it works right now, vaping is kind of like operating in the wild, wild west where things aren't fully regulated. And because there's no long-term data saying that vaping is causing people to be sick for long periods of time, people are dying, they can kind of get away with all the stuff that tobacco used to. Because, I've spoken with y'all before, tobacco used to be so regular and common that now you be like, for real? Like they used to smoke on airplanes. They used to smoke in the doctor's office. Your doctor used to smoke. Your doctor would prescribe you cigarettes. While you're sitting in front of your doctor talking about him in pain, they be smoking a cigarette like, wow, that's bad. You need to do something about it. So that's the novelty of it. That's the commonness. Now, vaping's kind of coming along the same way because now people are saying, well, you're not burning it, so therefore it has to be safer. And this is not combustible, so it doesn't have all those chemicals. So people look at vaping as a safer alternative. But what we try and teach from our department is that safer doesn't mean safe. And so now people are latching on to what's safer because it's still new and we don't know the long-term effects. So JUUL and them can kind of get away with it. Actually, JUUL's slogan is they don't even want people to quit. They want people to switch over to their product. So a lot of the companies, they can't, actually it's illegal for them to come out and say this will help you quit smoking because it's not guaranteed. So they can advertise and do all the stuff tobacco used to. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Pretty well, actually.
You want some more detail?
No, not really.
Okay.
Actually, that is the next question.
Oh.
What are some additional dangers of vaping?
Well, there's been studies done, of course, and you have, depending on who you listen to, some people are like, oh, this is way better, it's not bad. You want to look at the studies done by credible people like research companies or Stanford or UCSF or Monitoring Our Future. These people have a history of doing things legitimately. So what they're finding is there are trace chemicals inside the cloud. As with anything science-based, if you add heat to something, if you have like maybe 5 chemicals, when you apply heat to it, it creates dozens more. So even though vaping, the chemicals that's inside it may be like maybe 5 or 6 chemicals, when you apply heat, it creates more. And what they're finding is many of them are dangerous, many of them are cancer causing, and they're starting to see the effects of it on their lungs. Now, like I said, long-term data has to come out because nobody hits the first vape pen like, hey, look at this puff bar. Ooh, this is good. Cancer doesn't happen that fast. It takes a while to kind of grow. So we don't see the effects right away, but we are starting to see some conclusive things. Like you have popcorn lung. You have ear, nose, and throat irritation. There's deposits of nanoparticles of metal are being left in people's lungs because just putting your mouth on these devices, metal is coming off the coil in the battery. So that aerosol that people breathe in, they're pulling in metal. So we know that's not good on your lungs. And so we're seeing effects and I think there's, I'll wait till we get to that question because I'm going to go too deep on this one. So yes, it's not good for your body. Breathe air. It's tasty. It's free.
It don't even got a taste.
You know what? We're not going there.
Yes, we are. Anyway, so to go into more detail with that last question, what is the latest news with lung disease outbreak associated with the vaping?
Okay, so there has been a lot of articles and research done in the last couple of months. I'll be honest, from our office, we were like, wait a minute, let's make sure this is legit because where is this coming from? Like, why now? But they're starting to investigate what's taking place in people's bodies. So in the last maybe 4 or 5 months, there's been an increase in cases of people going into the emergency room with having adverse lung reactions to the things that they're vaping. Some people so much so that they have damage in their lungs that's equivalent to 10 years worth of damage that only took place in like 6 months.
Yikes.
Yeah, and now it is accredited, most cases, to the chemicals that they use to create the e-juice, or some of it is cannabis focused, like the THC. I think 56% of it they found around with the THC in it, but there's been over 2,000 cases, and as of today, there's close to 50 deaths associated with it. Grown, young people across the board. And just last month, I read an article, there was the first reported case of somebody in Southern California who had metal buildup in their lungs, or they had metal deposits in their lungs. And they usually associate that with people who work in a warehouse or a factory, but this person didn't. All they did was vape. So that's what we're starting to see more now with the trends and what we're seeing conclusively.
Breathe air.
So you said that the person had 10 years of lung damage within
Months.
Mm-hmm. And you said I want to make sure I got this right. Was some of that due to THC?
Yes, the
Vaping
THC
or
oil.
flower?
No,
The
the oil, and sometimes what they use as a cutting agent, which was vitamin E also. So what I warn young people with now, because THC cartridges that you may buy, depending on the brand and depending on what part of the country, you may buy a brand that may have been safe 1 month, and then you go back and buy the brand again the next month. And if somebody had sold a tainted cartridge, you could have adverse lung damage because, let's be honest, everybody doesn't do things by regulation. And when it comes to vaping, it falls under FDA regulation, but they haven't had the protocols put in place nor the people to do it. So that's why, like I said, it's still the Wild Wild West, because people can make products, put it on the market, and nobody's checking to see if it's correct. So we're having a lot of young people, especially when it comes to these cartridges that they buy, that are not completely filled with the chemicals they're supposed to have in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be safe.
Breathe air.
What else?
Be
It's
safe.
free.
Breathe air.
What else do youth need to know about vaping?
Oh, the biggest thing that I usually drive home, there has been a shift into what's easier, because I work through 9 districts, plus I also connect with people from Stanford. I talk to middle school, I talk to high school. There's been a shift to using more of the pod systems, and JUUL was the first one. Because JUUL was so successful, the 2 creators of JUUL were 2 graduates from Stanford. They came upon a chemical called nicotine salt, and it's a highly concentrated form of it. And because it's so highly concentrated, it's more impactful when smoking a JUUL or other pod systems than sometimes even a traditional cigarette, meaning that you're getting more nicotine. So now, seeing that the trend has moved away from e-cigs, some young people still use vape pens. Mods are kind of here and there. But what I have from confiscated devices at my desk, I was literally at a district last week, and they caught this kid selling puff bars, right? So he has like a catch of puff bars. And so they give them to me to analyze and share with parents. And I'm looking at the content. It says 5% on there, which is equivalent to JUUL. And I don't know if it's equivalent, same nicotine, but that 5% registers as nicotine. So that means the punch from these things, even though they're cheaper, you're getting twice as much nicotine than you would a traditional cigarette. So now what we're seeing, because pod systems like Sorin, Fix, My Blue, Enjoy Ace, all of them are easier because you either snap it in and go, and then puff bars, you just buy it and hit it and throw it away. They have way more nicotine than you would ever hit. So when young people hit it for the first time, they're getting a rush of nicotine that they would never get before. And I'll let you go with your question.
So would smoking cigarettes be less addictive than hitting puff bars if puff bars are more intense intake of nicotine?
So here's the sad thing.
So is it even healthier? It's more addicting, right?
It's actually for young people more addicting because young people don't run towards cigarettes anymore. But when you hit these puff bars or you hit anything,
Nicotine related.
actually I would say salt-based nicotine,
Okay.
which is pod systems. If you hit those, you get so much of a jolt of nicotine. It's like, woo, buzz, powerful. And now your brain's saying, I need this again. Now, if you hit a cigarette, you might hit it however many times puffs for one cigarette. With a puff bar, young people don't know how much they're using. You can go playing a game, watching TV. You don't know how much you're using. They come preloaded with 300 puffs. So if you had a pack of cigarettes, you can be like, well, I smoked 10 cigarettes today. Let me try and cut down to maybe 9 tomorrow. With these things, you don't know. And it depends on how long you pull a puff in. You can go, whereas somebody goes, it's different for each person, but you're still getting way more nicotine than this tobacco. Here's the scary thing is, there's actually a trend where people are switching to cigarettes to get off of JUUL.
Yeah.
Now, I would say this is not, and that's why you play the safer game, is kind of bad. JUUL and all vaping products do not burn. Let me get that clear. They don't burn, meaning that they don't create that blackness in your lungs because there's no tar. Tar is the stuff that creates your lungs being black, and that's the number one cause of heart attack and stroke. Vaping doesn't have that because it doesn't burn, but it does have a high percentage of nicotine. So now, instead of you being, oh, I'm messing up my lungs, you're still pulling in nicotine that gets you addicted. And then, like I said, you're more likely to go on a traditional tobacco, which we don't want to happen. So if somebody said, hey, I've been smoking this puff bar too much, let me go get some Newports. Whoa, 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 all bad.
Bruh.
They're both bad, but that's even worse because now you're including the 7,000 chemicals from a cigarette. One cigarette has 7,000 chemicals. And so now you're pulling those in too. Make sense? Answer your question.
Yes.
And as well as, more nicotine percentage, they can go higher and higher if they wanted. They also have more of the addicting flavors that they are selling as well.
You know what I have on my desk right now? I have a Puff Bar banana ice. That is like the mystery.
Like crack.
You can't find that everywhere. This kid had his hands on it, and what happens is the flavors, if they're unique or rare, they charge more. So some kids like, hey, for the what's the leche ice or the cafe latte Puff Bar?
15 for leche ice, puff bar.
See, she knows. See, she knows.
I know. They're a lot.
So they'll charge extra because of flavors, and that's why that's the biggest issue with vaping is that young people who would never smoke or vape will try it based off of flavor.
Or just
So
because of boredom.
Oh, you like coffee? Here's a coffee.
yeah, well, boredom is the issue, but the majority of them, the statistics show, and even when I'm going from school to school, it's the flavors. Like, hey, what flavor did your friend offer you? Oh man, I had gummy bear. Oh, cotton candy taste. I mean, think about it. If somebody said, hey, you want some cheesecake? You know I want some cheesecake. You want to vape some cheesecake?
No.
Vape cheesecake? Just trying it to see what it's like. Like, I've eaten it before, but I can inhale it. Let me try. Now my brain get that, woo. It's like, ooh, I got a buzz, and it tastes good. Let me hit that again. And then on the weekend, hey, you got your cheesecake bar? Let me hit that. And that's what it's looking like. I have Puff Bars is probably, and Puff Bar kind of kicked in over the summer. So JUUL doesn't have as much monopoly anymore because you have other companies that come out. Puff Bar is a new thing. It started around the summertime. It started hitting our radar. Now almost all the schools I talk to, they have Puff Bar. I got, at my desk, I got the OMG, I got the banana ice, got the leche, I got the cafe latte, I got the, what are the red ones? I can't remember. Pomegranate. Watermelon is racist. You wouldn't say that. Keep that on camera. Take it out. Keep it in. But nah, all of those it's important. They know flavors is a big piece why young people try it. Tobacco. If you go back through the tobacco company's documents from 1960 all the way down, they were saying stuff back in the 60s and 70s like, hey, we need to have a young people continue to use our product to make money. Young people like flavors. Honey might be considered. They were saying this back in the 60s and 70s. And so they keep flavors in. Here's how bad it is. In 2009 or 2008, one of them, Obama signed what's called the Family Care Act. It banned selling all flavors of cigarettes except for one. Anybody know what flavor that was?
Tobacco.
Menthol. And actually, menthol is the worst flavor because not only is it minty, it opens up your lungs, but it masks the harshness of the smoke. So when you inhale it, it makes it easier to go down. So tobacco companies fought for that. It's like, oh, you can take away all the flavors, but you got to keep menthol. It's actually an ingredient, so they kept it in. So they signed that banning all flavors. But tobacco companies, they're like, man, we still need young people to. We still know that young people like our products. They didn't openly say this, but that's the understanding. So that's why now you have more flavored little blunts and little cigars. 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, they didn't have like tropical breeze swishers. You just had plain. So when they banned flavored cigarettes, the flavors rolled over to something else. Now vaping's taking it to a whole nother level. Anybody want to guess how many flavors there are in vaping?
A million.
15,500.
I was close.
Yeah, a million, really. I get it. You shoot for the stars, I get it. But no, 15,500 flavors. So their thing is the flavors help people quit. You don't need 15,000 flavors to help somebody quit vaping or quit smoking using vaping. So they're going to play this game, and that's why all these vaping products, they make it enticing with the colors, the cool cucumbers out there, all of it. The mangoes, it make young people want to try it.
Oh wait, there's a flavor of, like, just because you made me remember, there's a flavor of puff that's literally called clear, and I don't even know. Apparently it tastes like nothing. I don't know.
The goal is for young people to be like, oh, I want to try that, because the traditional taste of these products, y'all don't like them.
And then it's also the flavors meant to trick your mind, so you're into like inhaling something that you would normally like, so you do it more often.
When you record, play that back in slow mo.
Listen to this man. He makes
like
terrible. He listens to Soulja Boy still. Anyways, next
that
question.
we're gonna cut. 'Cause you don't want to associate that with me. I do not listen to him. I just use it for a video. You know, this is a disclaimer. Right now, everything Chris says from this point on is a lie. Next question.
How can someone quit vaping?
Huh?
How can someone quit vaping?
Okay, so in Contra Costa County, there's a quit resources that we have. There's a number you can text to that they'll give you cessation referrals and such. It's 211. Or if you Google Coco Tupi and look for our Contra Costa website, we have quit resources attached. And like I said, it's not super duper easy. I'm not gonna lie, because once your body's accustomed to having that much nicotine, getting off of it is very difficult.
And you can also talk to your counselor
Or
too.
you can also at your sites talk to your counselor.
Thank you for that, Amy Spector.
Yes. Through our Contra Costa County Office of Ed, through the 2P program, we also do what's called brief intervention, where if a student is caught or needs help with quitting, they sit down with somebody on site to kind of investigate why they use. And then if they want to go on to actually quitting, there's cessation groups that we can also run to. For all the young people out there who are got up by the puff bar, we got you.
All right. What should an educator do when they see a group of students smoking or vaping?
Karate chop the person in the middle.
Punch him in the
It's
throat.
always
not
the middle
really.
person.
If you see, wait, you said if they came on a group
Like,
of
if you see kids vaping, like, what do you do? Do you intervene? They're already addicted. Like, what do you do if you see kids like smoking and vaping?
well, you have to. I would definitely say you have to intervene because especially if it's on campus, all campuses, all school sites in Contra Costa County are smoke free, or tobacco free, meaning that vaping falls under that, so they have to address it. But if you do come upon young people who are using, you need to have an honest conversation because many times they don't realize they're addicted if they're using it so frequently. Sometimes they'll think it's a novelty that they do on a regular, but having a conversation to explore their usage, the time they use, how often they use, it's needed because this is looked differently than as typical traditional tobacco. You don't see it as like, oh, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm addicted, I can't quit. They're like, oh, I can put this down all the time. But then they get fidgety and they get nervous, they get agitated. So if they don't have somebody to actually confront that behavior, sometimes they'll just keep going with it.
You know, so I can speak from my own high school experience here. And, you know, I'd say the majority of kids I know vape, and the ones who get caught, they just get suspended. You know, they don't get help on this is how you quit, this is how you ignore cravings, this is how you this, and this. They just get themselves in deep trouble and then go home and continue vaping.
Yeah.
Come back and vape.
I'll be honest, from our county office, we usually don't, we do not advocate that they suspend students. Each district and each site kind of operates on their own. We advocate that you don't suspend students because, yeah, we understand. Once you say, hey, go home, they're going to go right home and vape. Yeah, they'll get their hands on another one if they not have multiple. And they don't get the support they need. We do ask that they have alternatives. Like some districts have Saturday school. Some districts have like in-school suspension. And then, as I said, the brief intervention is where you meet with somebody, a counselor, a teacher.
More break.
Yeah, to actually have a conversation about why.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, my friend offered it to me and I've just been using it for the last couple of months. Well, have you ever tried to put it down? What happens to yourself when you don't go? What happens when you forget your vape at home? You leave your Juul on the desk. Like some kids like, oh, I have to have it like I have to have my cell phone. Imagine if you left your phone at home. How nervous do you? Yeah, exactly. Your body would break down.
My mom would call me on that phone.
There you go. Well, young people sometimes they don't even get the chance to investigate their thoughts on it. So having an adult who's invested in their future and their health is critical. Okay. Did it answer that? Indeed?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. What is your
Opinion.
What is your opinion on letting parents,
On parents letting.
Sorry.
That's it for you.
It's okay. Take your time.
You shook it off.
what is your opinion on parents letting their kids vape or use other substances?
We have this American trend like, hey, I'm a cool parent. If they're going to do it anyway, I'd rather they do it around me. Well, the difficulty is it's normalized. Just like with alcohol, I know some parents who hey, their kids going to drink, they're going to drink at my house, but it's still normalized. With anything legal, it becomes normal and becomes less of a threat in people's eyes and their outlook. Like I said, when it comes to these products, people still want to, well, is this safer than tobacco? Well, since it's safer, let's do that. But you still got to be mindful. Tobacco has nicotine, and nicotine are in these products. All pod-based systems, which is that salt-based nicotine, all pod-based systems have nicotine. So you're getting extreme doses of nicotine you would never touch before. This is not good for young developing brains. I don't care. Now, nicotine doesn't cause cancer in itself, but it's one of the top 5 addictive substances on the planet. To introduce it to a developing brain rewires your brain to say, I need it. Nobody takes their first hit of Juul or cigarette like, yeah, I'm gonna be smoking in 20 years, y'all. Nobody plans on that. But the majority of smokers start before the age of 18. Actually, it's close to 90% start in middle school and high school. If you could prevent somebody from even picking up a product before then, the odds of them becoming a smoker or vaping are very slim. So for a parent that thinks this is better, it's like which lesser evil you want, but they're both bad. And there's actually a video on addiction where they says if you smoked a cigarette, it's like jumping off a 20-story building because it'll kill you. Now vaping, it's not as bad from what people say, but it's like jumping off a 10-story building. Still bad. I want to be on the first floor with air. Just breathe air.
I think
It's free.
You said that the problem is, if you could get people to not even touch them from junior high to high school, that we wouldn't have a problem. And the problem is that they're sold to minors. That cigarettes, they You can buy cigarettes, you can buy vapes, you can buy anything you want at the age of 15. If they're willing to buy them, they'll sell them to you.
Well, you guys are actually the target. They actually, in the tobacco industry, they label your generation, which is middle school and high school, they call you guys replacement smokers.
Yeah.
Because 1,300 people die every day. In order for them to keep making money, they need people to be addicted every day. They're not banking on a 50, 60-year-old person, 40-year-old person starting smoking. It's not going to happen.
They're their clients.
That's not their clients. They know it's your age group. Now, is it legal for them to target you? No. But are the things they put in place, they can say adults like it? Yeah, they're going to do it all day. It's a business. If it makes money and they have billions of dollars, they can be sued over and over, and they'll continue to use money on litigation and lawyers. They can outlast the people who are trying to sue them. They have the bucks like that. So they need you. So in order to do that, and I'm not going to say for every corner store or gas station, they'll say that they don't sell to minors, but they bank on minors buying it because they get the money from them if they become lifelong smokers.
Yeah.
It's a business. You guys are the target.
All right.
What role can parents play to keep their kids nicotine free?
Have conversations, because to be honest, like, there's a lot of stuff that we're learning along the way. I can tell you all the information and data, but you all see it firsthand. It's different than traditional tobacco, where we know what cigarettes, cigars, little cigars do. You all know the trends. Your bodies are responding differently. So if a parent can have an honest conversation, like, hey, what do you know about vaping? Hey, I read this article. Hey, I heard this thing in the news. Like, just have a conversation. But the best thing parents could be is not to be angry at the young people. Because if they come in, you shouldn't be smoking, put it down. It's not so easy. Put that vape away. It's not just like, okay, mom, let me throw it in the trash. You might put it in the trash, but 10 minutes later, your legs start twitching. Like, go get that up. Like, it's not easy to quit. It's an addiction for a lot of young people who don't even realize it. So parents have to be open, and they have to have open dialogue, to be clear.
Have you yourself had any interaction or thought of using nicotine in the past?
Yeah, I've tried that and crack.
What?
I just want to see what y'all going with. Nah, I've had tobacco in my system before. I tried a black and mild because my brother.
I bet you got black forces on right now.
I tried a black and mild. Just ignore that. I tried a black and mild back in the day because my brother, he likes marijuana, and so he advocated that I try that. I don't like the burning. I didn't like the burning sensation. So for me, it didn't take. Whereas, like, I was lucky because some young people try it and they'll keep going, depending on peer pressure or whether the nicotine took hold. For me, it didn't. So, firsthand, plus your breath smell like garbage can juice.
Smell like skunk spray.
It does.
Susanna?
If we can all come up with a flavor that would be so disgusting that no one would ever vape again, what would it be?
Can I throw mine out first? I thought about this all night.
Yes.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Creamy diarrhea.
Bang. Okay.
Bang.
I was thinking
I
blue
wonder if
cheese
you
that's
still
been
crave
sitting
it.
on the counter for a week.
What?
I was gonna say curdled milk.
Alright.
Nice sour
Curdled
flavor.
milk, yeah.
Nice sour flavor to
I
it.
got a whiff in that in my nose.
All right, so I'm just gonna skip everybody else because they're not important.
Iguana.
But
On camera.
yeah, on
Man,
camera.
so inconsiderate.
Anyways, what is the true meaning of existence? What is life? Are any of us really alive? And if we are, what is our true purpose?
Do
I
you
know
re-
the answer.
I want to hear her answer. Go
No,
ahead.
I already know her answer.
What is
It's
it?
reproduction.
It is. Okay, so my biology teacher told me that we all put on this world to reproduce, and that's why we all are that's why we're here, to reproduce. Like anything, bugs, animals, people, like we just want to procreate. That's the meaning of life. And what's the true meaning of our existence? To have sex, to make our population bigger, you know, more people.
All right,
It's
Pete.
true.
Right then.
We gotta procreate. I mean,
I agree with the first side. Then she's like, because of that, we do need to have sex, y'all.
that's true.
All right, I think we are out of time. We would like to thank you guys for watching this episode of the Psychology Club podcast. We will see you guys next week.
No, we won't.
We're out.
Bye.
Peace.
We won't see you
I'm
next
done.
week.
I'm done.